The Lord be with you.
With your spirit.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to John.
Glory be to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
It was before the festival of the Passover, and Jesus knew that the hour had come for him to pass from this world to the Father. He'd always loved those who were his in this world, but now he showed how perfect his love was. They were at supper, and the devil had already put it into the mind of Judas Iscariot, son of Simon, to betray him. Jesus knew that the Father had put everything into his hands, and that he had come from God and was returning to God. And he got up from table, removed his outer garment, and taking a towel, wrapped it round his waist. He then poured water into a basin and began to wash the disciples' feet and to wipe them with the towel he was wearing. He came to Simon Peter, who said to him, "Lord, are you going to wash my feet?" Jesus answered, "At the moment you do not know what I am doing, but later you will understand." "Never," said Peter. "You shall never wash my feet." Jesus replied, "If I do not wash you, you can have nothing in common with me." "Then, Lord," said Simon, "not only my feet, but my hands and my head as well." Jesus said, "No one who has taken a bath needs washing. He's clean all over. You too are clean, though not all of you are." He knew who he was going to betray him. That was why he said, "Though no, not all of you are." When he had washed their feet and put on his clothes again, he went back to the table. "Do you understand," he said, "what I have done to you? You call me Master and Lord, and rightly so I am. If I then, the Lord and Master, have washed your feet, you should wash each other's feet. I have given you an example so that you may copy what I have done for you." The Gospel of the Lord.
Jesus Christ. During the Jewish celebration of Passover, a little child asked, "Why is this night different from every other night? On every other night we have a congregation, and on this night we have none. On every other night in this cathedral we'll have altar servers, pomp and ceremony. In this night we have none. But what we have on this night is different and special from other nights. Because on this night, what we have is our priests are together with us. And you'll see them from time to time in the broadcast. They are with us in their own chapel, in their own altar, sitting and celebrating with us. And together we are offering Mass for you. From every parish in the diocese, we are offering Mass for the people of God of Trinidad and Tobago. Tonight we celebrate what is most precious. We celebrate the institution of the Eucharist, the institution of priesthood, and the conviction of love which Jesus showed by his giving of himself in the Last Supper and by his washing of his feet, and showing the true love of leaders is humble service. In our second reading, St. Paul says to the Corinthians at the very end, verse 26, he says that whenever you celebrate the bread and the wine, the body and blood of Christ, you are remembering the Lord's passion. You are remembering the Lord's death. Whenever you celebrate the Eucharist, you are remembering the Lord's death. Why he was saying this was because the people of Corinth were celebrating Eucharist in a way that was just so haphazard. Sometimes they understood and sometimes they didn't. They came and they were feasting and having a great time and not understanding what they were celebrating. This desert that we have been in by COVID has forced us to ask the question, what do we celebrate when we celebrate Eucharist? The fast from the Eucharist that we have had is asking another question of us. What do we come to church for? What are we celebrating? There's a wonderful story that Matthew Kelly gives in his teaching on Eucharist. He says, imagine we had a COVID-19, a major viral plague that infected the whole world. And in this infection, the doctors realized that there is an antivirus that they could do, but they needed the blood of a very special person to be able to make that antivirus to be able to inoculate the whole world. And so all over the world, they're looking to find this cure, this one person who has this specific type of blood that could help in inoculating the whole world and saving the whole world. And everywhere in the world, doctors and labs are looking and searching for this one person. And your family goes to be checked in the clinic. And you realize people were checked after you are leaving and you are not leaving. And then you realize that something is wrong and this is not working. And the doctors come to you in a hurry and say to you, you know, what is, you know, your son has the cure that can save everyone. That your little boy, 5 years old, his blood is the only one we've found throughout the whole world so far that can save everyone. Would you sign here? Give us permission to take his blood. He said, well, how much blood you need? He said, well, actually we thought we'll get an adult, but this is a little child. We need all of his blood. You're torn. What do? You don't sign, everybody dies. You sign, you lose your son. What do? So eventually you sign reluctantly. You don't even have time to say goodbye to him. They take him, they take his blood, they find the cure. Everybody's inoculated. Everybody is cured. The world is saved because of your son. 1 month later, they have a little celebration for this heroic boy who gave his life. And 1 month later, when this celebration is supposed to take place, very few people come out. Very few people come, and they come out of curiosity. And they come and there's no real gratitude. They come and there's no real connection. They come and they're just there. And you are still in grief because you have lost your son. And the whole world has gone on with this business as if it's just another day. And that's the best way of trying to understand what St. Paul is saying. Whenever you celebrate the Eucharist, you celebrate the passion and death of Jesus Christ. Why? Because every time we come to the Eucharistic table, we are celebrating that Jesus Christ paid the highest price that you and I can be inoculated from the viral disease of sin. Each time we come to the Eucharist, we are celebrating. Eucharistia is thanksgiving. And each time we come to give thanksgiving, we're giving thanksgiving because God showed us what true love is. And in showing us true love, he showed us the gift of his son to you and me, that through his blood we have been saved. During this Triduum, follow the blood. Follow the blood. To follow the blood, we have to go back to Egypt, to our first reading, where the people were enslaved and God delivered them. And in that deliverance, he said, take a lamb, a young lamb. Take it unblemished. Slaughter it. Take the blood and smear the doorposts of your houses and roast that lamb and gather your families around and eat the lamb as families. You must eat all of it. And so the people on that night before they left Egypt got their lambs and slaughtered their lambs, roasted their lambs, ate their lambs, put blood on the doorposts of their houses. The angel of death passed over. And then God said to the people, every year I want you to remember. Now the word memory here is not how we use memory in the Western world. It's not calling to mind in recollection. It is remembering, which is stepping into the event as if you were there in Egypt yourself, and as if God personally delivered you himself. And in that deliverance set you free himself from slavery to a life of grace, to the promised land. In this recollection, in this memorial, it is not just a mental, but it is a spiritual reenactment of the saving events that the people went through when they were in Egypt. And then on the night before he died. And Paul is recalling 12 years after the death of Jesus, before even the New Testament was written. 12 years after. He says, what I have learned, I pass to you. That on the night before he died, Jesus took bread. He said the blessing. He broke the bread. He gave it to his disciples, saying, take this, all of you, and eat. Do this in memory of me. And he took the chalice, the cup. He said the blessing. He gave it to them and said, this is the blood of the new covenant. The new covenant. Blood of the new covenant. And why is this blood of the new covenant? Because by the Eucharist, the old covenants have been superseded. And this new covenant emerges. And that's what is at the heart of the Eucharist. That God has made a loving pact with you and me. And the price of that loving pact is the offering of his Son. Body, blood, soul, divinity for you and for me. Each time we come to the Eucharist, we are celebrating what Jesus Christ did. And when he says, do this in memory of me, it is not called to mind in recollection. It is putting yourself in that sacred scene at that Last Supper where he was. In active imagination. And imagining yourself sitting there and being there as he gave his body as bread, as gave his blood as wine. And understanding that what he did that night, he does again on tomorrow when he gives his body as flesh and his blood is poured out. In Jerusalem, on the day of the Last Supper, all of Jerusalem was in a frenzy to celebrate the Passover. And in the celebrating of the Passover, all the families would go to the temple to get a lamb. And they would get a lamb, carry it to the priest. And the priest would kill that lamb and drain the blood of the lamb into the canal, right up by the altar. And then the priest would stretch that lamb out and tie its two hoofs out this way, so that you had the lamb tied in a crucified form. And in Jerusalem, Jehoshaphat, one of the Jewish writers, says to us, there were 270,000 lambs that were slaughtered. 270,000 lambs slaughtered. And all in a sign of a cross. And in Jerusalem that year, there was one unblemished lamb that was slaughtered. And that one unblemished lamb, Jesus Christ, is who gave himself for you and for me. The mystery that we are celebrating is a mystery of deep profundity. But it's a mystery of deep gratitude. I would like you to consider what God has done for you through his Son, Jesus Christ. Consider the price that he paid. Every time we eat the body and blood of Christ, we celebrate his crucifixion and his death. We remember it so that we are thankful for what God has done for us. Until this time of COVID-19, we thought we were okay. And we thought our life is okay. And we didn't really need God. And now we're seeing it a little differently. Very, very differently. Tonight is very strange for all of our priests. As priests, Holy Thursday is the day that we renew our promise of priesthood. We'd usually do it a little earlier, Monday or the Tuesday in the week, so people can get back to their parishes. But it is this day, Holy Thursday, where we commit ourselves every year to the priesthood and the priestly vows that we made when we were ordained. It is on Holy Thursday that we remember the institution of priesthood and the ordination of these first priests. It is on Holy Thursday that we remember the institution of the Eucharist, that God gave himself as bread for you and for me. It is on Holy Thursday we remember the washing of the feet, and this year we cannot wash feet. And we remember that Jesus came as a very humble servant. Very humble servant. A covenant in blood has been made, and a covenant is a contract. Today you have lawyers sign up the contract, and as they sign up the contract, you know that it is binding, otherwise they take you to court. In the ancient days, it didn't go that way. They did a covenant in blood, because the covenant basically says, if you break this covenant, may your blood be spilled too. It is as drastic as that. But the blood that was spilled wasn't the blood of goats or sheep. It is the blood of Jesus Christ. And that blood spilled for you and for me. And each time we celebrate the Eucharist, we remember the passion of Jesus Christ. And we remember the high cost paid for our salvation. Pray for your priest today. I'm asking you, wherever you are, pray for your priest. Whichever priest is in your parish, pray for him as a family tonight and in these days. Because we, as priests, gathered virtually throughout this archdiocese, Trinidad and Tobago, we are offering our Mass today for you, for your families, for this nation, for this people. Remember, the Mass is a celebration of thanksgiving. And we should come with grateful hearts to God, to thank God for what God has done for us. Let us reflect today the attitude and disposition that we have come to the Mass with. How often we have come and not been impressed, but not been ready. How often we have come and not invested and not been thankful and grateful for what God has done for us. Let us today turn to this great Lord who gives everything that he has, that you and I may find life in him. Amen.